The sun bled light over the hills, stretching shadows across the grass, until they merged into a sea of waiting people. Thousands sat in rows, their collective gaze fixed on one point. The hum of conversation grew thin, then vanished, leaving a heavy silence that pressed against the chest. Philip turned away from the crowd to find shelter from their eyes. He pulled a small leather pouch from his belt. His fingers moved with frantic precision, counting the coins one by one. The metal clinked against his palm, a hollow, mocking sound. He finished and looked up, his jaw tight, his breath coming in shallow, ragged bursts. He stepped toward Jesus and shook his head, the pouch dangling limp in his grip. His voice cracked under the weight of the moment. It would take a fortune to feed this crowd. We have nothing. He looked back at the expanse of people, thousands of mouths, thousands of lives, all waiting for a miracle he knew they could not provide. The air grew colder as the light failed, and the reality of the void between their resources and the need settled over the field like a shroud. Andrew did not answer Philip. Instead, he pushed through the outer perimeter of the seated rows. He moved with a purpose that drew eyes away from the center. He reached back, his hand gripping the shoulder of a boy who stumbled to keep pace. The boy stayed close, his knuckles white, as he held a woven basket against his chest. Andrew stopped before Jesus and knelt, pulling the lid back. The movement was slow, deliberate. Inside lay 5 small barley loaves and 2 dried fish. The sight was jarring. It was a single meal for one held up against the backdrop of thousands. The disciples crowded closer, their faces hardening with skepticism. One disciple let out a sharp, incredulous breath. Andrew looked from the basket to the horizon, then back at Jesus. He did not speak, but his hands trembled as he held the offering out. "This is all we have," Andrew whispered, the words barely carrying over the dry grass. The silence returned, deeper than before, as the weight of the impossible task pressed down on everyone watching the small, pathetic pile of bread. Jesus did not acknowledge the skepticism. He gestured for the crowd to settle, his movements fluid and calm. He reached into the woven basket, his fingers closing around the loaves. The wood of the basket scraped against the dry earth as he lifted the bread toward the darkening sky. He held the loaves for a heartbeat, then gripped them with both hands. With a sudden, sharp snap, the bread broke. The sound cut through the silence like a whip. It was clean, final, and absolute. A piece of the crust fell away, leaving a jagged edge of soft grain exposed. He handed the fragment to a disciple standing closest to him. The man stared at the bread in his palm, his brow furrowed in confusion. He looked at the vast, expectant faces of the first row and hesitated. His hand moved toward them, then stalled, his fingers tightening around the crust. He glanced back at Jesus, seeking a sign, but found only a steady, expectant gaze. The disciple took a breath, stepped forward, and extended his arm toward the first person sitting on the grass. The weight of the basket in his other hand felt solid, heavy, and entirely insufficient for the task ahead. The first person accepted the bread. The disciple turned to move on, expecting the basket to be empty. But his arm dipped with the weight of its contents. He reached in again. His fingers brushed against fresh, warm crust. He pulled out another piece, then another, and the supply did not diminish. He looked at the next row, then the next, and began to move faster. Other disciples saw his pace and broke into a run. They wove through the rows like a frantic tide. Every time they reached into their baskets, more bread and fish appeared. It was a blur of motion. The sound of thousands of hands tearing bread filled the air. They handed out pieces until their arms ached from the constant motion. People stood up to reach for the food, the faces shifting from hunger to total astonishment as they realized the baskets would not run dry. The disciples moved in a rhythm of endless giving, their initial doubt replaced by the sheer physical labor of the task. They walked until every person had been served, until every mouth was full and the murmurs of hunger were replaced by the steady, rhythmic sound of chewing that rippled across the entire grassy plain. The sound of chewing tapered off, leaving the field in a heavy, expectant stillness. Jesus stood at the edge of the grass as the disciples returned. Each man carried a woven basket, the lids pushed open by the sheer volume of leftovers inside. 12 baskets in total, overflowing with the fragments of bread and fish that remained. The boy stood nearby, his eyes wide as he watched the people rise to their feet. The sun had slipped entirely below the hills, leaving the sky in deep indigo. A pale moon climbed over the horizon, casting a silver light across the plain. The people moved away in small, hushed clusters, their voices low as they exchanged looks of profound realization. They did not look back. The disciples set the 12 baskets down, the weight dragging their shoulders low, their arms trembling from the day's labor. They turned to find Jesus, but he was already moving away. He walked with a steady, measured pace toward the darkened shore. The tide rolled in, a soft, rhythmic pulse against the sand. He did not look back at the baskets or the field. He disappeared into the shadows of the shoreline, leaving the evidence of the day behind, anchored in the silence of the rising moon.